The Spin-Off Podcast Network.
Talofa Lover. I'm Madeline Chapman, editor at The Spin-Off. If you have the means, consider supporting our high-quality journalism by becoming a Spin-Off member. Sign up now at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
You're listening to Business is Boring, a podcast that reckons it's anything but. Business is Boring is brought to you by SparkLab, offering inspiration and practical advice to help businesses find their edge. To hear more about SparkLab, including details about the latest events, workshops, and business tools, visit sparklab.co.nz. And now, here's your host, Simon Pound.
You're listening to Business is Boring, a podcast that reckons it's anything but. Business is Boring is made by The Spin-Off with help from Callaghan Innovation. Here's your host, Simon Pound.
You could look at the way that work is arranged and decide that it's something designed by the patriarchy just so they can avoid looking after their kids. A more equal society would have work start after school drop-off and finish in time to help with the end-of-day tasks. And that's just if you have kids. You might also have a life. It's just one of the ways that work is not really built for the modern age. One person that's done a lot of thinking about the way we could work today better and has helped putting it into practice is Kate Wright. Kate's completed her MBA looking at new modes of work that reward output and efficiency rather than face time and hours spent. Opening up the way we work also opens it up to new people, the diversity we're looking to build today. To talk these thoughts and the role of mentoring for business, Kate of Business Mentors New Zealand and business design company Intentio joins us now. G'day, thanks so much for coming along.
Hi Simon, thanks for having me.
Hey, so first up, let's go back to some of the research and work you did before your MBA around the idea of gendered roles in the house, the way we model these to our kids, and the pink jobs, blue jobs. I thought this was fascinating. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my undergrad degree, I was doing the sociology of gender, and we looked at ways that I also did child psychology and family psychology, so looking at the ways that we model these sort of pink jobs and blue jobs to our children, and is it nature or nurture that makes the child, the boys want to play with trucks and the girls, and that's a whole other argument, but it was just interesting to look at the ways that we pass on those messages to our children, and it was good to question why is it set up like that.
And what did you come to in terms of the pink jobs, blue jobs thing? Did you see that houses where jobs were spread evenly across the male and female figures had kids with kind of more balanced viewpoints, or what did you see?
There was no definitive answer really, because it's dependent on so many different factors, but what it basically comes down to is that it's okay to have pink jobs and blue jobs as long as everyone agrees that that's the way you want it. So if you've got one person who's traditional and wants it to be that way and one person in the relationship that doesn't, then that's not going to work. But if everybody's okay with that, so you kind of need to match yourself with someone who has similar ideas and just be mindful of what you're modelling.
What's a pink... So would a pink job be... I don't know, laundry, and a blue job be mowing the lawn?
Absolutely, yeah. We're very traditional like that in New Zealand. And people sort of set that up but perpetuate it. So maybe that makes girls feel like they shouldn't be in the garage, or maybe it makes, boys feel a bit funny about being in the kitchen.
In terms of helping people see different things, on this podcast, when I have female business leaders on, I make a point of never asking them about their family, because I never get asked about my family or how I make business work, and I've got 3 kids. And so I find it weird that women do, but we'll make an exception for this podcast because that's an explicit part of kind of what led you into this field, isn't it? That idea of trying to balance the family situation and the work situation.
And it's very topical right now too. So the whole thing for me has been about managing the children and you want to be with your family and you want to raise your children, and also being really good at your job and being seen to be there early and all those things that are appreciated about workspaces. And then the tension between those two things, because it seems like you can't win, because you're always going to feel guilty about not going to the sports day, or, if you had an important meeting, or also having to go and ask for permission. Can I please go to the school play? Not everybody has to do that. Some people have a situation where it's a bit more flexible, but a lot of people have that really strong tension. And I noticed over the years, like I would always speak to other women and men and just kind of probe along that topic. And people feel bad about it. People feel torn. And they feel like there's nothing they can do about it, but there certainly is. There's so many different ways of doing things.
And that led you down a path of researching some of the other alternatives. And one of them, the results-only work environments. This is a really cool concept. Tell us about that.
It's a very cool concept, but it's quite a mind flip. So it's a complete paradigm shift from the way we do things now. It's not flexibility. It's not teleworking. It's basically, here's your role. Let's agree what you need to achieve in what time span. And then you just go do it. I don't care if you do it all on one day. I don't care if you spend, the whole month at the beach. But when you come back, you're accountable for your results. And you don't have to ask permission to go anywhere or do anything. So it changes the focus from the time spent in a place to the results of the work, the productivity. And if there's people, so one of the problems that businesses face, I think, a lot when they focus on clock watching is presenteeism and absenteeism. But people sitting there, everyone's got someone in their office that the joke is that they're always on Trade Me. And it stops that, because if there are any loafers, social loafers around, they're soon going to get found out. It's a really cool concept, but it's almost quite harsh too, because if you don't come up with the goods, then you're probably going to be out.
That's really an interesting way to look at it, the results only. I guess there are some workplaces that like writing or where freelance writers often exist in that kind of a zone where it's like, well, the deadline's next Thursday, and so just have the thing finished, and it doesn't matter if you're in or out of the office. How does it work for kind of team environments and places where having people to kind of collaborate with and spark off is important? What does it do to a culture, having a results-only work environment?
The studies that were done there's a big company in America called Best Buy who implemented it. Two ladies sort of took over and decided that they would implement it in one of their core units. And what they found was that morale raised and the teamwork, people can still message each other, or they could still come in for meetings. It doesn't mean you can't. So you can set it up however you want. And it just had so many flow-on effects. People were much happier. They were more loyal, because if you've got that kind of setup, you're probably not going to leave to jump to another company. It cost them less in terms of real estate, because so many people are not you don't need to pay for all of that space. People are less stressed because they're not commuting. And people were healthier. People had time to go to the gym. They didn't have to stick to some sort of schedule.
Yeah, there's a lot of inefficiency in the current system. Like if you take a couple of steps up and look down and see everyone in rush hour at the same times, everyone trying to book holidays in the same little windows. So let's build more roads.
Let's just keep building more roads and put more people on them. Well, what about like you say, let's do a helicopter view and think what's going on here. Does everybody have to travel at exactly the same time? Even schools, like there's a sort of a cry for more innovation. We want innovation in the workplace. We want our children to grow up to be able to figure out problem solving and do all this different stuff. But the two social institutions that we grow people up in are not innovating. They won't look at... There's cool stuff happening. I always get called out by all the teachers I know when I start on the education system. But there is innovation that can happen there too. Not everybody has to be at school at the same time. And teenagers need like 10 hours of sleep. People are lacking sleep. People get up at 5 a.m. to beat the commute. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, even the role of school and kind of the social conditioning. Like, I think this is something that's shared by a lot of people, but I feel I'm not a valuable member of society unless I'm busy from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. And I think that's just muscle memory from, I find it very hard to relax on holiday or whatever, unless I'm moving the whole time.
Yes.
I think it's muscle memory from preschool, being busy all day.
It's really hard to let go of that too. And we've recently pulled out one of our children from school, and we now homeschool him. And so people ask questions about that. They want to know, how does that work? And, what about the exams? And there is quite a process to go through to be able to sort of get permission to homeschool. But then you can do however you like. There's unschoolers, there's curriculum followers, there's a bit of everything. And you don't necessarily have to do NCEA. And people are sort of shocked and stunned, like, there's almost a culture of if we have to go to work from 9 till 5, why shouldn't you? And if we have to go to school and do all that busy work, then why shouldn't everybody else? Which is weird, because everybody can have the kind of system that works for them.
And that kind of like conformist, almost puritanical, judgmental kind of element to it, that exists in the work environments, doesn't it? So you've kind of noticed this idea of being first to clock on and last to clock off as seeing
people
as good.
Get rewarded in front of other people, just like you do at kindy. You've been sitting up really straight. Good boy, you can have a treat. Everyone else has to feel like they're not so good. And people get rewarded for turning up first and staying late. But what I found in some of the environments where there was more flexibility, people are prepared to sort of pay you back for that. If you don't mind if they come in every Wednesday morning later because they did something at school, or I don't care, they went surfing, whatever, then if you need them on a Saturday because something happened, then, something went wrong, they'll come in. They're happy to, because it's a give and take relationship, and it's not this rigid, you're 5 minutes late, what happened?
And so between your work, I'd like to get to talking about being a business mentor in a second, but between your work with your business design company and in the MBA, what kind of companies have instituted this kind of results-based work rather than time-based work? And I guess, do they have to do it all, or can they have some people in the team with a bit more of that ability? Do they have some people that just have to be there? I mean, you probably couldn't have a person greeting people at the front desk on a totally...
I'll come in when I can. I'll get to you later. I'm busy. Yeah. No,
or someone who is the key holder for a store or something.
It's interesting when I mention results only to people, the response from managers is usually, but if I give that person, then everybody will want it, and then it will be chaos, which is just old style thinking. So, and someone said to me, well, you can't make paint from home. If you work in a paint factory, you can't. But there are other things you can do. You can just have a real conversation with that person and say, hey, look, what is it that's important to you? And it'll be different for everybody. It might be important to you to be able to take an extra half hour at lunchtime because you go to the gym and you don't want to have to rush through your workout, and that's the only time you've got to do it. Just talk to people and be real and be able to work with that flexibility. So if it's a paint factory, you might have constraints, we work these shifts from this time till that time, but within there, what's better for you? Are there days that you want to not be available? And it doesn't seem like that much of doesn't seem like rocket surgery.
No, it doesn't seem like rocket surgery. With that thing, is there one of these generational splits? Everyone loves things to be kind of millennial, because you find that new people to the workforce, they expect to be able to keep continuing their private lives throughout their work environment, and they're also very happy to have the blend of work environment in their private time.
Yeah.
And is that kind of part of this acknowledging that the shape of lives are different?
Some companies will still block Facebook and Trade Me and things like that, which is just crazy because everybody can multitask. And you have to trust people that they're going to be a grown-up and not spend all their time on Facebook unless that's their job. But no, there was a research done in New Zealand that found that people like to talk about millennials, and that is, millennials might be more outspoken than some other people, but it's also baby boomers. It's anybody. It's me. And I'm neither of those. I'm a Gen X. And people want time to follow their hobbies. People want to have a life, like you say. They want to maybe go and visit their elderly grandparent without it. It's just so rigid. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for many people. And then you've got 2 days. And in those 2 days, so that was part of my personal thing, was that in these 2 days I have to do all the laundry, all the housework with my husband, who is very... he does a lot of that stuff. I'm not very pink and he's not very blue. So, but there's 2 days and you're exhausted, and then you'd have to go back and do it all again. It just seems like also not good for the children to have that sort of rigid structure, when it could be more natural and they could be more blended into society too.
We're sitting here at the moment, sitting in my 9-year-old daughter's room from my house as I'm on a work from home morning. So that kind of blend is really vital for that give and take. Have you got examples of companies in New Zealand that are doing this, and examples of like benefits? Because I'm sure there's people sitting there going, oh, well, it all sounds nice, but like, nice isn't going to pay the bills.
I've probably got more examples of ones that don't, but part of my research was to go and do a case study at Vend, and I spoke with Mel Rousel and was really just, excited to be able to speak with her about the way that she does things. And it comes down to just have those human conversations, because that's what this relationship is. They're people and they have things that are important to them. It's not all about your work and what needs to get done. There was a conversation the other day about children. Somebody was saying that they had to go and pick up their child and they felt bad because work. And I wrote a bit of a snarky post saying, God forbid the children should interfere with the money-making activities of the companies, put them all away in their institution where they're not going to bother, and we can all get on and, achieve these goals. But they can be incorporated into work. That's a whole other topic, but
they can. And let's talk about being a business mentor with Business Mentors New Zealand.
Yeah.
How did you get into that, and how does that work?
So when I finished my MBA, I just wanted to be able to sort of pay back. I feel really privileged to have been able to do the things that I've done, and I've built up, quite a bit of experience over the years, and I just wanted to sort of see what it was like and see if there was anyone that I could help. And mentoring's huge. Mentoring, if you look at anybody successful deep enough, you'll find that they've got coaches, they've got mentors, they've got advisors, and we sort of have a mindset, I think, in New Zealand a lot where you struggle on and do it all yourself. It's hard to ask for help. And mentoring's really cool. It's cool for the mentor and the mentee. I would say it's a two-way thing.
And so with Business Mentors, how do people get into it? Like, let's say from the perspective of someone wanting mentorship, does it cost? Is there a lot of time commitment? Do they have to, I don't know, show all of their dirty laundry? I mean, what's involved?
It's kind of embarrassing. People are embarrassed to ask because they're like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, but this is a really dumb question. But should I set up my website before I get my business cards printed, or should I register the company? And they're shy about that, but don't be, because we all started there. Everybody starts somewhere. And I think the cost it's a couple of $100 for a year's worth of mentoring. It's just such a low investment, and I wouldn't think that you'd ever regret that. And you can set it up however you want. What I like about it is that you go through a third party. So, you might get suggested to talk to a mentor, and then you have a chat with them and see if you're a match. So you'll say, well, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Can you help me with that? And then figure
like
out.
A date, kind of.
It is. It's kind of like, a first date to see if you're a match and if you want to meet up again. And you can do that on Skype. You can meet up. You could go to their house. You could meet for coffee. You could see at the library, anything. And it's up to you guys. There's kind of, you want to be respectful because the mentors are doing it. They're volunteering. So, but you might decide to meet once a month face to face and then have weekly phone calls or whatever works. And for me, what I love about it is that it's not just business advice. Sometimes it's the difference, making that difference in a person's life, that they don't have to struggle with that commute anymore. So my particular passion is people who want to start their own business and escape their job that they don't like. And that's really cool.
First, let's just quickly look into what it takes from being a mentor as well. So as a mentor, you volunteer your time. That fee that people pay is just to kind of cover the administration of the service. It's a nothing fee, really, considering the time involved. What kind of time commitment does it take to be a mentor? And do you kind of have, I don't know, one, or do you have a portfolio of businesses that you're working with? Do you choose? Yeah, you can have as many as you want. So you can, if you're busy or you've got something else that comes up, you can just call them up and say, hey, look, don't send me any more people. I'm all stocked up here. Or you can say, look, I'm not available for the next year or the next month, and then they'll sort of send out a list and say a brief, the types of businesses that are looking for someone. And if something sort of catches your interest, and then you go, oh yeah, I could help with that one. Now, how does it help you as a business person as well? You know how there's that lovely saying that, if you want to know if you know something, try and teach it.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's only by trying to tell someone else about it that it kind of becomes clear to you.
There's definitely an element of that to it, and it's really cool because it partly shows you how far you've come. Because you forget what you know and you just expect that everyone else knows what you know, but we've all got different areas of expertise and different things that we've done. So, and it's definitely a two-way thing. I don't think it's like a top-down, I'll tell you everything I know. It's a two-way thing, and it's so many different aspects to it. There's access to each other's network, so that's a really important aspect of it for both people. It's it's access to expertise in the area that you can't pay for that. I mean, you can't buy 10 years of somebody who's got exporting expertise that you're just diving into. There's so many benefits. It's just...
And as a last thought there, like the thing that you try and help businesses do is to kind of break the shackles of the job they hate. Tell us about that and how that's worked out for you.
Break the shackles of a job they hate?
By starting something of their own. Yeah,
it's exciting, and that's what it's all about. If it's able to change somebody's life, then it's completely worth it. So, and for me, that's something that's really important to me. I'm all about freedom and independence and flexibility, and so that's kind of why I have more of a connection when other people are able to achieve that too. And just, it's a complete flip from working for someone else to working for yourself. It's hard work and it's very challenging. There are lots of ups and downs, but how amazing to be able to say, hey, I'm no longer working for someone else. I'm my own boss.
Yeah, and is that kind of... you can't be it until you can see it. So if you want to show that we can have successful results, work environments, and places with different modes of working, maybe you need those brave few companies to set out.
Oh, definitely,
and lead the way.
Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be more examples, I think, in people who are prepared to let go of those old structures. So a lot of the forward-thinking companies in America, I don't know if a lot, but some, have let go of the whole performance review thing because everybody hates them. Managers hate them, workers hate them, and they don't really achieve anything. It's just a ticking exercise. And so companies have done away with them. But the flip side of that is that you have to be careful because when they do things like that and they say, you can have unlimited vacation days, but is that going to, people aren't necessarily going to want to run off in case, someone else sort of takes their position. In some of those companies, it's quite competitive and you do have to work really hard. So that's why the structures are coming off, because the environment's changed in that way. And also you'd have to be careful as an employer not to take advantage. So great, everything's flexible and now you're on a 0 hours contract and we'll let you know when we need you. That's kind of different than providing flexibility. So it can work, in both ways.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kate Wright from Intentio and Business Mentors New Zealand to talk about these new modes of working. Thank you so much to Jose Barbosa for schlepping out to my house to set up the recording studio. And thank you very much for listening. If you are a fan of The Spin-Off, check out their other podcasts. I can especially recommend at the moment Gone by Lunchtime. It's good times.
You've been listening to Business is Boring, presented by Simon Pound. And brought to you by The Spin-Off and Callaghan Innovation.
From the Spin-Off Podcast Network, that was Business is Boring, brought to you by SparkLab. Make sure you're following Business is Boring wherever you get your podcasts. And for more information on SparkLab, visit sparklab.co.nz. Ready to rediscover the joys of cycling? With over 300 kilometres of cycle paths across Tāmaki Makaurau, jumping on your bike and going for a ride is such a fun way to discover the city from a different perspective. Cycling is getting more and more popular across Auckland, so now's a great time to join the hype and give cycling a go. Head to at.govt/cycling to find your nearest cycleway today. The Spin-Off Podcast Network.